Random English Words number 2. This is the second edition of this new series I'm experimenting with here on Real English Radio. I'm your host, Tony Kai Zen. And today, just like the last time, I got a random word generator open in front of me. If you didn't hear the first edition, let me just explain really quickly what you're about to hear. I got this random word generator, so every time I click a button, it gives me a random word. And I'm just going to talk about whatever comes to mind when I see that word, or try to talk as much about things related to that word as I possibly can. Nice and simple, right? So let's go ahead and get started, my friends. First word on the list is battle. B-A-T-T-L-E. Now, when you look at that word, you might say battle or battle. I've got to fight a battle. I've got to fight a battle with the British tomorrow morning. But a lot of Americans say battle. It sounds like a very soft D as opposed to two T's. Battle. The first thing that comes to mind when I hear that word is the idiom. I don't know. Well, I guess it would be an idiom. I'm not sure how it's classified, but you'll often hear people say, "You might have won the battle, but you lost the war." You might have won the battle, but you lost the war. Yeah, you lost it, mate. You lost the battle, mate. No, you won the battle, but you lost the war. Which one is more important, mate? You've got to make a decision. You've got to decide what your priorities are. And I think that the war is more important than the battle. So you've got to choose your battles. This is something else that we say. You've got to choose your battles. You'll hear that. Well, you'll hear it from time to time in the context of conflict resolution. You've got to choose your battles wisely. And often when you hear somebody say that, what they mean is understand the fact that not everything is worth the energy or the conflict or the confrontation or the drama. Not everything is worth it. Sometimes somebody says some sideways shit, or somebody is just rude or disrespectful or has a bad attitude or does something that you don't like. And it might be in your nature, or it just might be instinctual. You might think, I gotta put this motherfucker in his place. Gotta let this motherfucker know who he fucking with. This motherfucker think he can disrespect me, bro? No, sir, bro. Show you who you messing around with, man. You better ask somebody about me, player. Right? Your instinct might be to go to war with this person or try to battle this person and show them that you are someone who demands respect, or you are someone who does not let the bullshit slide. And what I mean when I say that, to let something slide, just means to let it go. It means even though somebody did you wrong or disrespected you or something, just let it go. Let it slide. Slide right past you. Don't even engage. And so you might instinctually try to show this person, no, you're not going to disrespect me, or I'm not afraid of you, or whatever. And you get into this verbal altercation with this person that could easily turn into a physical altercation. But your friend, your good friend, sitting next to you might just put the hand on the shoulder, tell you to breathe, relax, and say, choose your battles, bro. Just choose your battles. Choose your battles. And again, he's saying choose your battles wisely. You need to know when. This is really what we're saying, is you need to know how to differentiate between situations and conflicts that are worth the energy and ones that are not, because not all of them are worth it. Sometimes you will make a big deal out of something that really wasn't that big of a deal to begin with, you know? Somebody cuts you off in traffic, or somebody makes a little condescending remark or a joke at your expense in front of other people. It's not necessarily the time to come out of character and battle this person, go to war, engage in conflict with this person. Am I making sense to you? I hope I'm not over explaining. I have the bad habit of doing that sometimes, because I know that there's different levels, people at different levels listening to the pod. I just want to make sure everybody understands. And I've been told a couple of times that over explaining actually helps when you hear me explain the same idea with different words or in different ways, because then it gives you different ways to understand and or explain that same idea. Anyway, you got to choose your battles. And that's part of growing up, I think, is just learning what's worth your energy and what is not. It's a big part of what it means to be an adult. Learning how to conserve energy for what's really important, right? So you got to choose your battles, man. What I also think of when I hear the word battle, I don't know why I think about this, bro, but I just envision them fighting battles back in the American Civil War. And I don't know if this was what was happening at the time, but when I think about that time period or any battle that was fought before that on American soil, I just imagine what we were told in school, what we were shown in those documentaries or the historical reenactments. These guys would literally walk from one state to another in those goofy ass outfits with those long rifles, single shot rifles that they had to stuff up. It wasn't even like a bullet. I don't know what you would call it. I guess it's still a bullet. It's being fired from a gun, a little ball, a projectile. Stuff it down into the barrel of the gun with some gunpowder, and then take aim and fucking fire. They would walk who knows how many kilometers from one state to another. And according to what we were told in school, these motherfuckers would stand across from each other. You have one army on the left, one army on the right, standing anywhere from 30 to 50 to 100, maybe even 200 meters from each other. I don't know the exact number, but just close enough so that you could see the white color of their eyes. And that's what they would say. Don't fire until you see the white of their eyes. And I don't know, but I believe they would say that because the guns were so inaccurate back then. You don't want to waste bullets and thus time, and thus put yourself at more risk by firing this weapon from too far of a distance. So anyway, these motherfuckers would stand in front of each other, close enough so that they could see each other's eye color, in a line, shoulder to shoulder, firing projectiles at each other. The fuck is that, bro? Could you imagine fighting a war like that? It's like, the fuck. And then fast forward to today, which is so crazy to think about. We got nuclear weapons, we got fucking drones, hand grenades, automatic rifles, sniper rifles. Motherfucker could put a bullet between your eyes from almost a mile away. Is that not insane, bro? We're talking snipers. And just in case you don't know, the sniper is the person that when there's a war or a battle, the sniper will go up to some far away, high up position, not necessarily involved directly in the battle. And this person is going to be shooting individuals one at a time from a long distance, out of sight and theoretically out of danger. They look through that scope that sits on top of the rifle so that they can actually see what they're shooting at from such a distance. And they're out there just taking heads off, bro. So we got sniper rifles now. These motherfuckers will literally, they're so far away from the target that they're trying to hit that they take not only the wind conditions into consideration, the humidity in the air, the temperature and all that, but they take the rotation of the earth into consideration when firing their weapon, because the bullet has to travel so far that the earth rotating might take their bullet off course. You understand what I'm saying? Imagine being able to take a man's head off from that distance. You're so far that between the time you fire the gun and the time the bullet hits its intended target, the earth has rotated to such a degree that the bullet might have been taken off course. The fuck? Modern warfare, man. Scary shit. I don't understand why anybody would ever want to battle another person or go to war, more specifically, because we fight battles on all scales. I mean, you battle with your spouse, you battle with your coworkers, your boss, people in traffic. There's all kinds of battles. But an actual war fought with weapons and shit, why would anybody ever want to do that? I don't understand those people that are just so passionate about their country going to war and murdering people they've never met. I don't understand that. And it's always the people who have no idea what war is actually like. You know what I mean? It's always those that are so passionately speaking about murdering strangers. or in other words, actually sending an army of people in which they are not included to go murder strangers. Like, what? What? What the fuck are you talking about, bro? Anyway, let's that's a good place to go ahead and choose a new word before it gets too dark on this fucking podcast. Next word, tree. 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 Now, just like I said in the last random English words installment, the first word that comes to mind when I hear this is marijuana. I think the word from the last episode was float. Now, when I hear tree, I also think of the ganja plant. There's actually slang for marijuana in the United States. I would have to imagine they use that word in other countries, but I don't know. But in the US, if somebody says, do you smoke tree? Or I'm smoking tree, they're talking about marijuana. Tree, bud, ganja, sticky, grass, green. What else? Fire, kush. But kush is a type of weed, to be specific. But yeah, there's a bunch of words. Mary Jane, right? There's a song about. So many songs have been written about fucking trees, bro. Marijuana. Have y'all heard that song by Rick James? Mary Jane, I'm in love with Mary Jane. Mary Jane. All right, I never claimed to be a singer, so forgive me for that. I would play it, but I fear that it would get blocked off. Fuck it, who cares? Let's as long as they don't block people from hearing it, I don't give a fuck if they monetize it. Let me just, because this is a classic, bro. Y'all gotta hear this song. Here we go.
Come here, man. Mary, love. Do it, baby.
Jane. Man, y'all gotta check that out. If I can remember, I'll put a link to that song in the description of this episode. Or you can just search Mary Jane by Rick James. Classic shit, bro. Classic shit. Anyway, that's what I think of when I hear tree. Is the Mary Jane, the ganja plants. You know what I mean? Smoke a little bit of bud. Man, we used to smoke trees so much, bro. Like, I remember we used to smoke bud in between classes in high school, dog. There was this kid I was in class with, he sold weed. And sometimes between each class, you have to walk from one building to another. And sometimes I would see my friend and he'd be out there just like with everybody passing by, kids and everything. Never any teachers, incredibly. But people just walking by and shit, he'd be standing next to a bush just smoking weed, like not even thinking about the fact that somebody might show up and arrest this nigga for possession of marijuana. Whenever I see him, he'd be like, "What's up, bro?" And then he wouldn't even say shit. He would just hold his hand out with the blunt in his hand. And a blunt is a marijuana cigarette rolled with a tobacco leaf. If it's a joint, then it's been rolled with rolling papers. That's the difference. When you hear joint, you can think rolling papers. When you hear blunt, they probably used a tobacco leaf, some type of cigar, to roll up the marijuana cigarette. Anyway, he wouldn't even say shit. He'd just hold his hand out. Like, you want some type shit, you know? Take a hit, 2, 3 hits, you know what I'm saying? and head on to class. We were so stupid back then, bro. We were so dumb. Um, what else comes to mind when I hear trees? Well, I mean, trees are good for a lot of things, right? I mean, from what I understand, trees consume oxygen. No, Jesus Christ. They consume carbon dioxide, or CO2 as they call it, and they produce oxygen. So they breathe what we exhale, or excuse me, they, let's say, inhale what we exhale, and they exhale what we inhale. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. Trees are very useful beings because they are alive, right? I mean, I've heard scientists say that they are living things. I mean, they grow, they have to be alive. But I've also heard scientists say that trees have feelings. Like when you chop down a tree, the tree feels what's happening. I don't know if that's true. It's pretty horrific if it is true, don't you think? You imagine getting chopped into pieces by somebody wielding an axe. And they're not just hitting you once, they're chopping all fucking day. You understand? I mean, don't even get me started on chainsaws. Before chainsaws existed, they would spend half the day sharpening the axe because a dull axe, which is the opposite of a sharp axe, if it's sharp, it cuts very easily. If it's dull, it doesn't cut very easily. So, in order to avoid wasting time by trying to cut a tree down with a dull axe, they would sharpen that shit for hours and then just be chopping and chopping and chopping and chopping and chopping until that tree eventually fell down. You imagine if it's true that the tree feels that, bro? That's so sad. But they're useful, that's one thing. I don't know if that's human nature or what, but we don't give a fuck about nothing if we can see a use for it. If it's somehow beneficial to us, we don't really care who or what else it affects. Is that human nature? Because they say that everything serves everything else. So, I mean, animals eat other animals, some animals eat plants and berries and shit. So it's not like we're the only ones. But still, just in general, we don't give a fuck. It's like, what? Trees? Firewood? A great use for tree wood or tree bark. We can make paper with it. What else do we use trees for? It gives you shade on a hot day. It's got enough leaves, right? Did you guys used to climb trees and shit like that when you were kids? I can't remember doing that too much. Like, I don't even remember having or living in a house where we had a tree big enough to climb. I'm also curious to know if you guys make tree houses in your country, or is that just some American shit? And I don't want you to get the wrong idea. Most people don't do that. You have to have a tree big enough for it first. Then you have to have the money to buy the materials and a family member who can actually construct a house in a tree. So don't think that most Americans had tree houses when they were kids, because most of us did not. You see it more in movies than you do in real life. I don't know if I've ever seen a tree house in real life. If I have, it was no more than two. Maybe I saw two at some point, but I'm not sure about that. So anyway, tree houses. I mean, they're cool, I guess. It seems like hell of a fucking task to build them, though. I mean, yeah, why not just, I don't know, build a garage, like a standalone garage? That seems much more practical. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, that's all that comes to mind when I think about trees. Yeah, I'm just go ahead and move on before this shit falls off the rails, man. I can't believe that's all that comes to mind when I hear the word tree. Jesus. Anyway, moving on. Sink. 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 Now, there's two things that come to mind when I hear this word. One is a noun, and the other is a verb. Same word. It's both a noun and a verb. So the noun, when you hear the word sink, you can think of what's in practically every kitchen, in every bathroom. It's where you wash your hands. So above the sink, you have what's called the faucet, Faucet, faucet. And on each side of that faucet, sometimes there's one knob, sometimes there's two, but you twist or turn this thing to basically open the faucet, if we can say it that way. We typically say turn on and turn off, but you can say open and close. That makes sense. So you open the faucet and then the water comes through that faucet, falls on your hands or whatever. You wash your hands and all of that water goes down the drain that is in the sink. So that basin bowl looking piece of porcelain or metal, sometimes wood, that is the sink. And the water goes from the sink down into a pipe through this thing called the drain, DRAIN, drain. So that's sink, the noun. Like I said, in every bathroom, every kitchen, you're going to wash your hands. Some people wash their hair in the sink. My mom and my sister, I guess I would sometimes too, but definitely my mom and sister would wash their hair in the sink and not in the shower. Why? I have no clue. I never even thought to ask them. But they would typically wash their hair in the sink. I don't know what that's about. And I guess I do, because they would take showers every day, but they wouldn't wash their hair every day. And sometimes you don't want to take a shower just to wash your hair. So then you go to the sink and you can wash only your hair. But there you go. We might have just solved that mystery. Yeah. But you wash your food as well. You might wash off the meats and the veggies and the fruits and things before you eat them, or cook them and eat them, right? I wonder when the sink was invented. And what were they doing before that? Just using buckets or some shit, or washing their hands in a river? I don't know how long ago the sink was invented. But speaking about the verb sink, S-I-N-K, it means it. I have no idea how to define that with words. Give me a second. Let me pull up the dictionary. Sink. Definition. All right, to sink, to go down below the surface of something, especially of a liquid, to become submerged. Yeah, so there you go. So what also comes to mind when I think about the verb sink is quicksand. Have y'all seen this before? It's spelled exactly like it sounds. Quick sand, one word. And it's that, I don't know if it's actually sand, it's that earth that's very loose, it's not solid. And if you stand on it, you will slowly start to sink below the surface. And it's very hard to rise back to the top of, I guess you call it liquid. I don't know if it's a solid or a liquid. It's kind of in between the two, isn't it? But yeah, you stand in it and you'll slowly just start to sink. And it's very hard to pull your legs back out. And it's almost like the more you struggle, the more you sink into, I don't even know where it goes, bro. Is it just going to the center of the fucking earth? Like what even is quicksand? What is going on there? You know what I mean? Now I'm curious. Hold up. Let's ask our AI assistant, what is quicksand and why do things sink into it? Quicksand is a mixture of fine sand, clay, and water that forms a liquefied soil that loses its stability and cannot support weight. It is not a unique type of sand, but a condition that occurs when water saturates an area of loose sand and forms a gelatinous substance. Here's why things sink into it. The structure of the quicksand. The disruption of sand particles, buoyancy and density, and movement. Now, there was a paragraph for each one of those, but I'm not reading all that shit. We're talking about sinking. So, I mean, it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's common sense, but when you think about it long enough, it does make sense. If it's a gelatinous substance, if it's water mixed with sand and clay, it's so, I believe the word is viscous. We're out here learning words together, bro. Hang on. Is it viscous? Having a thick, sticky consistency between solid and liquid, having a high viscosity. Right, so it's so viscous that you put any amount of significant weight on it, it's just going to sink below the surface because it's not solid ground. So that's why you end up sinking. But what I don't know is what is at the bottom of a quicksand pit? Now, where does it go? At the bottom of a quicksand pit, there's usually a layer of denser, more compacted soil or sand. Quicksand is typically a surface phenomenon occurring when water saturates loose sand or soil, creating a mixture that behaves like a liquid. Below this unstable layer, the sand or soil returns to a more solid state due to the pressure of the overlying material squeezing out the water and compacting the particles. Okay, but that doesn't make sense either, because I guess it does, because it's not like it's draining anywhere. Things are just sinking into it. I was thinking about that the wrong way. But yeah, that's what I think of when I hear the verb sink, is quicksand for whatever reason. But boats also sink. It doesn't have to be quicksand. It could just be water. Like the Titanic, the classic example, right? It's just floating along the ocean. It collides with an iceberg. Excuse me. It collides with an iceberg. And I guess the boat itself gets punctured. There's a giant hole. It starts to fill up with water, and it slowly sinks below the surface of the water and eventually to the bottom of the ocean. So boats can also sink. Anything that falls below the surface, typically of a liquid, is sinking. Yeah. You'll also hear people say sometimes that our hearts can sink, not physically, but if somebody says my heart sunk, which is the past tense of sink, what they mean is that their heart kind of dropped. You almost feel as if internally your heart dropped, typically because of something very shocking, something that makes you sad, or something. Let me make sure I'm not telling you some bullshit. What does it mean when someone says, my heart sunk? When someone says my heart sunk, they are expressing a feeling of sudden disappointment, sadness, or distress. This phrase is used to describe a moment when someone's emotional state shifts dramatically due to unexpected bad news, or a distressing realization, or a disheartening event. The imagery of a sinking heart evokes the physical sensation of heaviness and emotional weight that often accompanies such feelings. For example, if someone hears that a close friend has been injured, they might say, my heart sunk when I heard the news, to convey their immediate reaction of concern and sadness. There you go. That is sink, my friends. Let's move right along to the next word. Frequency. I don't like that one. Skip, sir. Business. Much better. The word business is much better for this episode, mate. So let's go with business. The first thing that comes to mind when I hear this word, business, it looks like you should be saying busyness, but it's not. It's business. I don't know where the word comes from, but the first thing that comes to mind when I hear that word is the expression, mind your business. If you're an intermediate or advanced speaker of this language, then you probably heard that before. But just in case you haven't, when somebody says mind your business, all they're saying is worry about your life and what you're doing. Don't worry about what I'm doing. That's not your business. It's none of your concern. A more formal, polite way of saying it would be, don't concern yourself with this, or don't concern yourself with me, or don't concern yourself with my life. Mind your fucking business, bro. Same idea, just one way is much more polite. The other one, not at all polite. I mean, you tell anybody to mind their business, you're not being polite. I wouldn't necessarily say it's rude, but that's just because of my personality. Like, I wouldn't take it the wrong way, because if somebody's telling me to mind my business, it's most likely because I'm in somebody else's business, and I shouldn't be in other people's business, right? So somebody says, hey, mind your business. Obviously, it's a rude thing to say, but if you say it to me, the only way you're going to be saying that to me is if I'm in some business that I have no business being in, right? At least most of the time. Sometimes it is your business and somebody just doesn't want you to get involved. So they say, mind your business. And you're like, nah, fuck that, B. This is my business. I'm the CEO in this motherfucker. The owner of this shit. So yeah, mind your business. Let's get an official definition, just in case that wasn't clear. What does mind your business mean? Mind your business is a phrase used to tell someone to stop being intrusive or interfering in matters that do not concern them. It is a direct way of asking someone to focus on their own affairs or business and not involve themselves in others' personal matters or activities. This phrase can vary in tone from polite to blunt, depending on the context and how it is delivered. For example, if someone is prying into your personal life or intruding or being invasive, prying is like basically creating an opening and inserting oneself. That's how you can think about it without a dictionary definition. So if someone is prying into your personal life and asking questions that you find intrusive, you might say, "Please mind your business," to indicate that you do not wish to share that information and prefer them to stay out of your personal affairs. And you can add the word fucking for extra emphasis, but that makes it quite aggressive. Do not say that casually. All right, you gotta be careful. You say, "Mind your fucking business, bro. Stay the fuck out of my business." It's very aggressive. No matter the context, that is aggressive. So, you do what you want with that, but that's mind your business. What else comes to mind when I hear business? I mean, the traditional idea of the word, which is an operation that exists to solve a problem and get paid to solve that problem, whether it's in the form of a product or a service. So, a restaurant is a type of business, right? I'm not about to go through all the types of you know what a business is, right? You know what that is. What I do think, though, one thing that comes to mind when I hear business is how it's become trendy to start and run a business. One side effect of social media is that you have a lot of people who are in fact running businesses, but even more people who are pretending to be business owners and operators, entrepreneurs, as they like to call themselves, making it seem like it's just so easy to start your own business, develop and sell a product or a service and scale to $1 million in sales, $10 million in sales, $50, $100 million in sales, and be super successful and buy a mansion and a Ferrari and a yacht and take world trips while somebody else is making you money. It's bullshit. That's bullshit. Bro, business is a sport. This is how I like to think about it anyway. So becoming a successful entrepreneur, truly successful, meaning with or without your presence, this business will continue to operate and make money for you and your family. And also the people doing the jobs, they're getting paid every month. To actually achieve that, you would be in the top 1% of all people who try to achieve that. The same way every NBA player, every Premier League player, every NFL player, NHL, MLB, whatever professional sport there is in your country or anywhere in the world, to be playing at the highest level, playing for Manchester City, fuck them by the way, be playing for Man United, Real Madrid, the Los Angeles Lakers, the Boston Celtics, whoever it may be, you are in the top 1% of people trying to do the same thing. And it's no different with business. It's a sport. It is a competition. Anybody can theoretically join the game and try to win, but how many people are actually going to win, bro? So platforms like TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, also TV shows like Shark Tank, have inspired a lot of people to start businesses, which I will always say is a positive thing for many reasons. I think we need entrepreneurs and people starting businesses for many, many reasons. However, a lot of people get the impression that it's just easy and it's similar to a movie where everything just goes perfectly the first time you try it. And it's so much better and so much easier than working a 9-to-5 job, when the reality is most people should be working 9-to-5 jobs, in my humble opinion. You have to have a certain personality type. You actually have to have a good idea that people value enough to pay for. You have to have operational skills and be able to execute on your ideas, withstand tremendous amounts of pressure and stress every fucking day. You have to have the type of personality that's comfortable with the idea that if you don't make this business successful, if you don't sell that product by the end of the month, if you don't sign somebody up for your service by the end of the month, you and or your family don't eat at the end of the month. Whereas with a job, no matter what you do or how shitty you are, as long as you don't get fired, you get paid on the 1st and the 15th. Or at least the 1st of every month, right? Your check is, at least in your mind, guaranteed. It's not your responsibility to get new clients work on branding and marketing and sales and this and that and taxes and legal fees and all these other things. That is the owner and CEO's responsibility. And they delegate all these different tasks to all these teams or what. I mean, it's like, and not only that, but it takes time to even get to that. Whether it's Google or Nike or Coca-Cola or Microsoft or Apple or whatever, they all started with a lot less than they have now. It takes years, decades sometimes, to build a truly successful business, you know? It's a marathon. It's a fucking grind, you know what I mean? Speaking from limited experience and so many stories that I've heard from successful entrepreneurs, it's not easy, bro. It doesn't mean it's not worth it. But it's certainly not easy. So the idea that you can just quit your job, start a business, and be successful in 3 months, bro, 9 months, or even a year, that's the top 1% of people. What you never hear about on Shark Tank or social media or in any podcasts is the 99% of people who tried and failed, who got a second mortgage on their house just to get some money to invest in the business, sold their car, took their children's college fund, maxed out their 401k, maxed out all their credit cards just to have enough money to invest in the business, and then it fails. And they end up homeless or having to work at fucking Office Max or McDonald's or some insurance company just to get back on their feet, if they get back on their feet. Or go back, move back in with their parents or something who don't even want them there because they're 47 years old. You don't really hear about those stories because it's not sexy. It's not attractive. It doesn't warm the heart. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's what I think about business. I think it's necessary. I think it's one of the greatest sports that was ever invented. But I think a lot of us have the impression that it's much easier than it actually is. Yeah, it takes a special individual to run a business, I think. But I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not a business owner, not a successful entrepreneur. I'm just giving you my opinion. It's what comes to mind when I hear business. Mind your fucking business and be careful when starting a business. So there you go. How we doing on time, y'all? 40 minutes. That's not bad. Let's take a crack at another one. Hold. Hold. I don't really like that one. Hold. Yeah, no, I'm gonna skip that one. Active, skip. Double. Skip. Jesus, I just want one more word, bro. Referee. I got something for this. All right. REFEREE. 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 Also, I believe in some parts of the world, people still say arbiter, but that sounds like a much more formal, a much older word, similar to the word in at least Spanish, right? Arbitro. Arbitro. It's hard to say. But yeah, that word does exist in English, arbiter, which is similar to a judge, a referee, the person who's making the final decision, calling the shots. So referee, the first thing that comes to mind is the video assistant referee. This is a question I got for all the football fans listening. What do y'all think about VAR? We were talking about this on Discord the other day. And it has sparked a lot more controversy than I think initially expected, because the idea of the video assistant referee was it will eliminate human error. Because before that existed, it was up to 3 people responsible for calling a game that involved 22 people on a field as big as like some of these football fields are gigantic, and you have one referee standing in the middle of the pitch, and then you have 2 linesmen on either side of that same pitch, responsible not only for looking all the way across the field to make sure that this player's not offside when the pass comes down the line, but also any fouls that might happen near him while the game is taking place. And it's so impressive. Like, some of these guys, eyesight, their ability to see so far and actually call onside or offside accurately the majority of the time. To this day, I'm impressed by that shit, bro. But anyway, the idea of the VAR is that we'll have fewer errors. If he was actually offside, then the goal will be disallowed. If he was actually onside, then it's a goal, no problem. Whereas in the past, a lot of goals that were technically, how would I say that should have been disqualified were still given, and vice versa. But what happens now is there's a possible offside and they have to stop the game and run over to the screen and check the video assistant referee, watch the replay 5, 6, 7, 8, 72 fucking times just to make sure he's actually offside. But at the end of the day, the referee still has the final call, or makes the final call, I should say. So in my mind, I think this is one, slowing the game down, which a lot of people say is a problem when we have to stop and wait so long for the referee to rewatch what happened and then make a decision. Sometimes they're making the decision as they're running back onto the field. They don't even know after watching the clip 7, 8, 9, 10 times, and they just go with their gut as they're running back onto the field because they have to make a decision. Anyway, it's still his call at the end of the day. So the game is slowed down while he's checking that out. And also, there are many instances where it's debatable. It's like sometimes it's fucking 3 millimeters of a dude's shoulder that's considered offside. And so they disallow the goal. Or his fucking shoelace or something is beyond the last defender. One of his dreadlocks or his headband or some shit is beyond the last defender, and therefore they disallow the goal. And the way I see it, bro, is it needs to be all or nothing. Either we're going to let the technology decide every goal, what I'm saying is we need to call them all the same way. So if it's 1 millimeter offside, which is fucking insane to me, but if that's the rule, literally every time, if the technology shows on the screen, he's 1 millimeter beyond the last offender, okay, offside. Why do we need to watch the footage again and again and again? It's still a human making a decision that can make mistakes or be biased. Why not just have technology that's monitoring literally the last offender and the first attacker? And if he's a millimeter offside, then call it offside and let's move on. And to call it that way every single time. Or just get rid of VAR altogether. I don't see how we can keep standing in the middle like this. And it's kind of helping and it's kind of hurting. The human being still makes the final decision. Like, what is the point of that if it's just going to slow the game down and humans can still make mistakes? And so I think it was my friend Francisco who showed us on Discord this image of this new, I think they call it Wenger's offside rule. I can't remember the actual term, but somebody proposed the idea that the new offside rule should be if the attacker is a full body length beyond the last defender, then it's offside, because that's a clear advantage. But if it's just like a kneecap or a shoulder or the chest or the forehead, but they're clearly right next to each other, it's like, why are we disallowing those goals, bro? That's nonsense. It's fucking nonsense. How much of an advantage do you really have with a 10 centimeters difference, 10 centimeters beyond the last defender, not even your whole body? How much of an advantage do you really have? You know? And even if you do have a 10 centimeter advantage, are we really going to disallow the goal because of that? Like, the offside rule, in my mind, is to stop people from doing what we call cherry picking. Cherry picking can be done in sports like football, obviously, but also basketball. It's when one person is standing in the enemy's side of the court or the field, just waiting for somebody to throw the ball down the court or pass it down the field so that they can score more easily without anybody standing next to them to defend their shot. That's cherry picking. As opposed to like, if let's say the attacking team, the opposing team has the ball and they're attacking my team, all of us theoretically should be on defense in our half of the field or on our side of the court defending. But if one guy stays on their side, if one of my team members stays on the opposite side where we're trying to score, As soon as we get the ball back, we can just throw it down the court before anybody runs down there and he can easily score. That's cherry picking. And so the offside rule is to stop people from doing that. But being 10 centimeters beyond the last defender is not cherry picking, bro. So I never saw a reason to disallow those kinds of goals. To me, it's ridiculous. I think we're taking the letter of the law a bit too seriously there. Or we need to rewrite the law to make it more sensible, if you ask me. So that's what I think about video assistant referee. What do y'all think? There was a time when I wanted to be a referee, a FIFA referee, and call Premier League games or Champions League games because I knew I was never going to make it to the league. You know what I mean? I'm not going to play for United or PSG or Barca or Real Madrid. But if I could be on the pitch, calling the game, watching these dudes play, that'd be dope as fuck, bro. That'd be super dope. So I was like, man, maybe I'll fly to Europe and try to become a a FIFA referee and call these games. Yeah, although I'll be honest, it was a very short-lived dream. Probably a couple of weeks I thought about that. um yeah, a referee is actually it's much harder than it looks, isn't it? Because you have to think about it. The referee has to be in just as much shape as the players. The referee's constantly running from one end of the field to the other. Not only that, they have to have fantastic vision to be able to actually see, was this guy fouled or not? Or did he just dive? Was he faking it? You know what I mean? Was it also a good sense of judgment? Was it a type of foul that only deserves a free kick? The type of foul that was a bit too aggressive deserves a yellow card? Was it just clearly endangering the well-being of another player for a red card? You have to be able to see that and make those snap judgments for over 90 minutes every week. You have to be able to do that. There's no replay for you to watch. The foul takes place and you have to decide right then how bad it was, if it was actually a foul. Should they get a free kick? I already said this, right? A free kick, yellow card, red card. It's not as easy as it looks. I think linesman is even harder, bro. Like I said, looking down the entire length of the field, somebody's standing 20, 30, 40 yards away from you, and you can see that their shoulder is beyond the last defender when somebody who's standing 30 yards in the opposite direction passes the ball. You have to know when the ball is actually passed and also be looking down the offside line to see if the first attacker is offside. The fuck? And be running back and forth the entire game to stay in line with the last line of defense. Talk about exhausting, bro. You know what I mean? There are definitely some shitty refs out there, but a lot of them, maybe they don't get the respect they deserve because that shit looks hard. It looks hard. I'd rather either be playing or just up in the stands watching, bro. Like I said, after about a week or two thinking about that, I was like, there is no way I would want to be a referee. You imagine an entire country wishing you were dead, just hating your fucking guts because it was your call that disqualified their team from winning the World Cup. It was your call that gave the other team a penalty in the 97th minute. The other team converts that penalty, wins the match, and becomes the winner of the World Cup. You have an entire country of people who hate your fucking guts now. Especially if you got the call wrong. Jesus Christ. If you got it wrong and it wasn't really a penalty, bro, before VAR actually existed and they just gave it based on how they felt, because sometimes they actually don't see it and they just have to make a snap judgment call. You imagine making the wrong call? Can they get a penalty and win the... Oh, bro. So I bet you being a referee is quite dangerous, depending on the situation, you know, because depending on the country, bro, football fans can be violent. Fucking violent, which is something that just is so... it just shows you that although we have evolved quite a bit. And we have lots of technology and amazing things. The world's more civilized. We have society and airplanes and AI and fucking electricity, all these amazing things. There's still something in us that is so primal, so primitive, that refuses to die. Because that type of behavior where your team loses and you try to set the stadium on fire, or you're fighting the opposing team's fans in the streets, you see them on the subway wearing the opposing team's jersey, and y'all actually start fighting just because you're wearing two different shirts. You start fighting outside the stadium because they're celebrating because their team won and yours lost, and you can't take that. And they're talking shit, making fun of you, so you want to fight them. You want to start a riot because your team lost. You want to fight a bunch of strangers because they're wearing a green shirt instead of a white shirt. Knowing you could get your ass beat, you could get killed, trampled to death, taken to jail over a football team. 22 guys kicking a ball, 11 of which are wearing the same shirt as you, none of which even know who the fuck you are. And you're willing to die. You're willing to die for a football team. Or kill. You're willing to kill. Beat a stranger's ass, possibly to death, for a team of football players who don't even know you exist. The owner of the football club who doesn't even know you exist. You're willing to throw your life away for that, bruh? The fuck? And that's what I'm saying, is it's just something I believe is in human nature, bro. We're tribal creatures, whether it's Democrats and Republicans, left and right, Corinthians and Palmeiras, or São Paulo, or what's the other one? There's a fourth, Santos, right? Lakers and the fucking Celtics, or whoever. Pick a rivalry, Barca and Real Madrid. Pick a rivalry. You know what I'm talking about. Man United, Liverpool. It's just our tribal instinct. Once we feel that we belong to this team, to this club, to this gang, to this family, to this clan, this is us. It's my people. We represent the same shit. We're in this together. And the people who wear the other color, fuck them niggas, bro. That's the enemy. And I will do anything to protect my people from the enemy. In fact, whenever I see the enemy, I will attack before they attack us. It's on sight with the shit. You know what I'm saying? It's, man, oh man. And you might say that's stupid because it is, but I think it's something primitive, something primal deep inside of us. And we all act like that on some level, depending on what it is we're talking about. For some people, it's football or basketball. For some people, again, it's politics. There are even people who are fans of musicians who act like this. Drake versus Kendrick Lamar. Got their fucking fans fighting with each other on the internet. Like a bunch of retards, bro. So you can apply this to anything, any situation where there's a group of people that are, what would I say, that come together for a particular reason. They all have the same interests or political views or philosophical views. They come from the same country, same shit, same exact shit. Our country versus theirs. And so it's just something that's in us, bro. A primal instinct, that tribal way of thinking about the world. Yeah, my clan and everyone else. And it's us against the world. I don't know, bro, but I'm not fighting somebody because they got on a blue shirt when I'm wearing a red shirt. There's not a single person who works for or owns Manchester United that even knows my name. Why would I risk getting my teeth kicked in for them? That doesn't even make sense. I don't see any of that fucking revenue every year. I'm not getting a paycheck. The fuck am I gonna fight a Man City or Liverpool or Arsenal fan for? You know what I mean? I'm not even from Manchester. What the fuck? I'm not even from Manchester. Why would I do that? Nah, bro. I just can't get there. I can't get there. And with that, my friends, we're going to go ahead and bring this episode to a close. This has been the second installment of Random English Words. I hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned a few things. And I'll definitely be back. Jesus. I'll be back with another, and I'll be much less tongue-tied, my friend. But that's it for this episode of Real English Radio. I'm your host, Tony Kaizen, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.